see my people party with me, man. Good to see you, Black Brown, Sweet Nikita, Miss Rhonda. Hey, happy birthday, Miss J. Hey, Rhea, Sweet Sharita. Party with me all night long. Say what? That's right, baby. Bring it to the front. Hey, Janine. Well, guess what? Hey, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Black Brown, I get a little happy when I see you. What? Baby, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Francine, I get a little happy when you party with me. Well, guess what? When I see you, yeah. Hey, Jay, hey, Randy, I get happy when you party with me. Guess what? When I see you, yeah, yeah. Hey, Cole, I get a little happy. Happy when I see you. What? When I see you, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, a little change of plans, but we all good.
I put your picture on my mirror, start to blush when somebody said your name. And my stomach is a pain, see you walk in my direction, I go the other way.
Come on in, everybody. We're gonna make it work.
Try to stand on my knees, go away. What's happening to me in your body? Can you tell me what it means? I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window. It's gonna stop for a sign. That's the reason why. Yeah, oh, yeah. Hey, see you. Hey, Marlon, you sexy boy. Hey, oh no. When I see you. Hey fellas, listen. I scribble X and O's on my notebook, checking out my hair and my nails. I feel myself up in the zone. I get nervous when you call. Say I'm not home. See your face. I hear my favorite song. Should I send an email at home? I wonder if you know, or do you have a clue? Yeah, I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window. Was gonna stop for a sign. That's the reason why. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. See you. Yeah. Marlon, so sexy boy. Oh, no. When I see you. Listen, something now is taking over me. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna run. I'm just gonna stand here and see. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Always on my mind.
Oh, no.
Around, I get shy when I see you.
See you. Sitting so sexy, boy. Yeah. Oh no. When I see you. Hey, Fox, hold me down. Listen. Well, guess what? When I see you. Yeah, yeah. Hey, sweet Samita. Hey, get happy when you party with me. Hey, Janine. When I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Tony, I get a little happy when you party with me. Hey, Tim, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy.
Wait a minute. Look, hey, with that 669. Damn.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. Yes, yes, yes. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here on BPM. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Very happy to be your host. Please do jump in, like, share, subscribe, join, do all of the things. Make sure the bell is rung so you don't miss things like yesterday's show. Yes, it was. Thank you, Cynthia, with Jackie and Daruba. So just quickly, we do have to make a change of plans this morning. And we'll resume with GIU next week and part 3, I believe it is, of Blood in My Eye. And yeah, I worked on a couple things, tried a couple things, read through all the jokes. The other thing that has to be we're working on a rescheduling of is the hate awards. So stay tuned on that for that. It is happening. So I admit I'm not going to front. It's not their fault. It's not the hate awards crew fault, which I'm not involved in the first place. It's not Dr. James or Kalanji's fault. Like everybody's like all of this is, it's just sometimes in my excitement, I get frustrated. So I needed the vibe band this morning and it's immediately fixed. I'm immediately good. That's all I needed. A little frustrated with the communication and the scheduling with all these good people doing a lot of very important things. In many ways, and probably all ways, is most easy for me to be doing this. So, but the excitement, I got a little frustrated this morning, so I had to get the good vibe band. So I hope that has the same effect on all of you. If you were slightly less than optimal in your mood or whatever this morning, it's got to be fixed at this point. Anything more severe than a slight, it's obviously not going to solve everything. I'm not suggesting that the vibe band will solve and the pocket will solve everything, but damn near. Damn near. Anyway, but so there are a couple things that I have been able to pull together that we can get to, and I'm looking forward to getting to with you all this morning to hold it down. And I always say again, if you would prefer to jump over and catch Brother Diallo's on his platform, his live radio show that he's doing now, please feel free. You can come back and check this later, and vice versa. But those who are here, I very much appreciate it. And just real quick, Mark, I'm only annoyed if people I know ahead of time and only yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, it was just one. I'm only somewhat serious here. It is just one of those things. I mean, we're all more or less either fully volunteering or making not enough money that unfortunately at this point BPM can supplant all other sources of income and whatever else. And it is summertime, there's schedules, we all have families, there's a lot going on. So I get it. And it's usually just born out of my excitement when it comes to BPM. That I just look forward to I just look forward to all the work that we're doing and we want to do, and I have so much fun doing it, you know, that I get. But Mark, is this the same Mark we're trying to set up a discussion about football, world football, what the fools around here call soccer? Please, let's try again later today, or email me again if that's the same one. I need to get caught back up on that too. So see, there I am frustrating others. So it's reciprocating. All right, good, Mark. Right on. Yeah, Daruba takes a little while of decompression. It's a lot. Casa L, go. The pocket it is so. Oh, that was the best part. No, that's not true. That wouldn't be true. One of the best parts of the cookout we had celebrating the book launch the other day. I got to see a number of great people live. That was really the best part. But for a minute there, I got all my pockets because all you heard at the party at the cookout was go-go and salsa. That was it. So I was like, it went straight from go-go to salsa, and that was it. So that to me, it's not perfect because obviously I love my hip hop. I want that boom bap and all that. But in terms of a party vibe and pockets, that was the best. Big shout out to Jackie coming through. Netfa came through. My man Bashi. And I got to tell you all, when Kim Brown came through, it was, I'm not going to front. I love seeing Kim, and it was great we had never met in person. So that was great. But I almost forget the overlap in our histories. So when she showed up with my man Parrish and his younger brother, who goes back, I mean, they all go back years with Kim. They go back to before to like kindergarten. That was pretty powerful. And to see it all as they came walking through the back gate was like, wow, that's dope. No, there was no Chicago in the house by design. So yeah, it was a really good time. The book launch. I do want to talk a little bit about the second edition because if we have time this morning, I'm happy to do it and maybe we'll do more as folks get a chance to read and review because honestly, I was so excited and a little tipsy that I don't know. I haven't gone back and watched it. I can't go back and watch it, but there was a lot of fun being had. And I don't know that I really, we really got into the depths of the book the way we might want to, but it was all, I mean, it was, yes, Jarrod. Yeah, Kim is consistent. There's no fake in Kim. So yeah. But it was dope. It was dope. So anyway, we can come back to some of that as well. And right on, Cynthia. The book launch was fun. Jab really knows how to throw a party. Well, no, so I know how to marry up. And when you marry up, my wife and her family know how to throw a party, and they really did it up. They put in a lot of work to prepare a lot of food. My father-in-law got on the grill. So I can't claim credit for really anything. Daughters were involved. I mean, it was great. My sister-in-law was involved, and they throw down when it comes, everything was good. And it's always, that's where I almost, my veganism gets tested most. Because even though there was all these vegan options on the grill, you still see that other stuff and it gets a little bit difficult. I'm not going to lie, seeing you and Kim light up on the live stream was unexpected. Yeah. Rob, thanks, Rob Bass. By the way, please go back and check Sunday's last night. in all of them, but Piper Carter was on there. That was very dope. The discussion. I love the interviews Ear Doctor does. And I look forward to Piper's new show and all that she's going to bring to the platform. It's going to be very exciting. So that was dope. So shout out to Ear Doctor and Piper for that one. Yeah. All right, let's so the first thing, there was a little news as it pertains to
the Court's top thought leader.
And we'll revisit this on Friday with the Earn Your Liberation crew, but and so I'll save the bulk of it for there. But there's overlap in these 6 degrees of African life. And on Instagram the other day, I saw Brother Diallo Sumbri, who I don't know well. I don't pretend to know well, but I knew him from the DC area. Very Pan-African brother who is now working in Ghana, who did a lot of African cultural work in DC, the DMV area, a lot of real community work. I even showed up one time at I think it's the last time I played any basketball, at a basketball sort of fundraiser event he was doing for the children, for the babies. And 2 things I was reminded of that day. 1, basketball was never my primary sport, and 2, well, 3 things. 2, I don't mind physicality. So as soon as I got bumped, I remember like, oh, okay, good. There could be a little bit of there could be some physicality, because at first it's like a pickup game, but then you know how it gets, even in a pickup game. That so I got bumped, and then so I was like, yeah. And the third thing was that, well, I guess it's 4 things. Because 1, was never great at basketball. 2, I enjoyed the physicality. 3, very competitive. And I went to another level of competitiveness. And I remember I made a defensive foul, and I heard the dude said, "Oh, okay," and it was that he was now aware that I had stepped it up a notch. So somebody had bumped me, so I was like, okay, I stepped it up a notch. That he said and then the 4th thing is I'm way out of shape. And then I was way out of shape. So that whole day took weeks to recover from. But anyway, but Diallo, good dude. Again, don't pretend to know him well, but we have a lot of overlap over the years. So when I saw on Instagram he had been doing something with 19 Keys related to Ghana, I said, okay, but what really got me was that a lot of people that we know in common were liking it. The legendary MC Tony Blackman, who has been around here, legendary rapper, artist, cultural worker, freestyle union, U Street legend. I mean, she's, I saw her like it. And then I saw my man, Two Tone Jones like it. And I think DJ RBI liked it. Shout out to RBI. Two Tone Jones too. I didn't mean to say it like that, but I was just in contact with RBI, little exchange. And so I said I couldn't. So I just said, I did comment. I said strong disagree. And I did refer to 19 Keys as peddling bad economics, something to that effect. Diallo responded, very, very good dude, very responsible, kind of just like, what you mean? Good to hear from you. What you mean, though? Peddling is a strong word. And 19 Keys responded, I'd like to hear what you mean. So I just wrote one basically saying selling courses and speaking tours while talking black capitalism and high level mentality and all of this, I said that to me is just not something to the effect that that's not the way to go. It's not economic analysis, it's not organization, it's not political power, it's and then it stopped. And to the best of my knowledge, Diallo said, thanks, appreciate you. And it had something to the effect, I think we're doing something good, blah, blah, blah. 19 Keys didn't say anything else. By the way, I invited him to the show anytime. So we'll see. I was surprised that there was that much of a response, but at the same time, it was really just seeing. Usually, I don't, I see folks like that all the time. 19, they pop up here and there, but if it's not, it's only when I saw people that I know and respect. I just like we have to. I just disagree. I would love it if he did. I can't imagine that he would, though. There's zero benefit from his perspective. I think there's zero benefit. I don't think on the level of principle he's interested in engaging those to his left with whom he disagrees. We're not a big enough platform to threaten his status, so there's no need to respond to address something we're claiming at this point. There's no win for it, especially honestly because of what I know of my track record with debate. If it was me and him one-on-one, he would have a chance, not in the sense of being right, but in managing a debate. I do acknowledge that that's not my forte, although I think I did well with Dr. Carr, a point to which we may return. And go watch that on Kalanji hosted that joint on the elections, because I think for only one of us, me specifically, did that debate age well. But that said, 19 Keys I think would have a competitive advantage just one-on-one if he showed up on a Friday on an Earn Your Liberation, which is what I specifically invited him to. It would be a little more difficult for him. Diallo alone is enough of a challenge. But it would be a little more difficult for him to get through that. And then what would be the value? Because then you would have just created a lasting document on YouTube with your demonstrating the limitations of your analysis, experience, understanding, etc. So I don't know that I don't know that he would I'm fading into a dreamy background. That show might break the internet. Yeah, it would just, I just can't see. So from that perspective, I could see why he would not want to continue to follow up. Honestly, what I suspect happened, and I don't know that this is true, is that he saw my comment on his friend's post, and then either after reading my response or before looked at who I was and thought better of engagement, or I guess there's a possibility he looked up who I was and thought I'm not worth it, or a combination of the two. But I would certainly, if he showed up on a Friday, I would advocate that we have some sort of moderating or some sort of structure, because I wouldn't want it, because I would want for him to be able to be heard, and I wouldn't want any filibustering on anybody's part to be able to take place. But so we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if anything develops before Friday's show, and I'll have a report back on that. Yeah. Okay, couple other things. There was something from actually last week that we didn't get a chance to get to, that I wanted to at least revisit, that's somewhat related to the disagreements that 19 Keys and I and others would have, and related to my buying power argument, and just really our entire media environment, that I thought I would I don't know who this is in response to, but I did just catch this. But this happens. This is a running problem, just anywhere. But so this, not too long ago, there was in advertising age, this discussion. Well, not discussion, but just a reporting. The leading national advertisers in 2023 spending is still growing, but a recession looms. Internet companies drove ad spending growth. Digital media grabbed the lion's share of budget for blue chip marketers. I do like to pay attention to this. I read, they've seemed to have changed the style, and I'm not entirely sure what my subscription status is. But so I'm not sure if there is another level of reporting that I'm not accessing, or if this is just how they're redoing it, rebranding it, pun intended. But I look at the reports for national and sometimes global ad revenue and ad spending, I mean, because it's increasingly, I think, important that we be aware of the reality of commercial media, that it is driven by ad revenue, and that ad revenue coming from the most elite corporations determines content. So ownership is far less relevant than the commercial media status of whatever entity we're talking about, and the ad revenue they're trying to capture. And it's the competition for the capture of that ad revenue that often leads to the worst forms of commercial product for us in the audience, whether it's news or so-called entertainment or whatever. So it's another way really for capitalism to manage media content, and with the nominal claim that it's not propaganda, that it's whatever the people want, et cetera, and so forth. And I should do more to bring in the research, old and new, that points to this fact. But this issue of created desire is something that I don't think enough of us respect as a reality. So that's why, again, borrowing from that old professor of mine, who was not old at the time, but old in terms of my educational career. And again, we didn't agree on much, but he was right in saying you must interrogate your preferences, was his phrase. And I've just simplified it to, how do you know what you know, and why do you like what you like? And then we have to recognize that the point of the interrogation of that is that what we like is not natural necessarily. It's not inherent. It's not innate. It is a product. And often, as Adorno pointed out, and DMX later, rest in peace, like is confused with recognition. So if you can produce something that people will recognize, they will think that they like it. And that's done through, again, a control of the content, which is largely based on advertising. So when we look at some of these numbers, the top 200 US advertisers raised their spending on ad and marketing services by 8% in 2022, reaching a record $210 billion, according to Ad Age Data Center. And if we, in past reports, this one doesn't show it, they've shown that if you go beyond the top 200 advertisers, you end up getting to, and maybe this is pre-COVID, which is the last time I saw those numbers, but it really gets to about $500 or $600 billion globally and annually. So that's a lot of money that people are trying to capture when they're doing commercial media. And that's why you see everybody from Roland Martin to Sean Puffy, P. Diddy Combs, to Byron Allen, to whomever, saying, respect Black business, respect Black media. And what they mean is, give us more money, because they see all this money. And then it shows you some of the groups, and these are the groups that work on behalf of collectives of or collections of products and corporate providers of material goods. Carnival Corp, Johnson & Johnson, there were $55 billion spenders. That is marketers with U.S. ad spending of greater than $1 billion. Amazon, $6.1 billion. And of course, they have it. And of course, they used it to pay people like Terry Crews and wasn't Shaquille in some of those. And they expect advertising to go up 5% in 2024. Digital versus television, 66 to 19%. And I think that was all I had noted from this. Okay. Oh, no, wrong. Here we go. The top 200 lists includes 29 financial services firms. That was the point I wanted to get. Yeah, that was it. That together increased spending by 5%. Among those firms, 16 boosted budgets in 2022, led by a 52% rise in advertising and marketing at online bank Ally Financial. So I'm not surprised by that. And this I suspect is partially what trickles down to even the Earn Your Leisures as opposed to Earn Your Liberation and the 19 Keys community, that financial services firms are increasingly looking to reach more media outlets and more audiences as that is increasingly where and how money is made in the US as opposed to actual physical material goods. And then I just know I think I didn't realize, or maybe I forgot, that Warren Buffett owns Geico. But that's, of course, because that's what we learned from Michael Hudson and Ben Norton and them, that the fire, was it finance, insurance, real estate, what is it? What is fire economy? What is financial? No. What is the E? Oh no, I can't remember. Anybody in the chat? No. What's finance, insurance, real estate? Anyway, but we'll come back. It'll come back. But that's why, insurance is big and big money. And then lastly here, American Express, Bank of America, Citigroup, JPMorgan, and Progressive increased first quarter spending in advertising. So the biggest banks are increasing their revenue for ad spending, which I think is interesting in and of itself. So is that just it? That's just right. Finance, insurance, and real. Oh, so the E is real estate. Okay, my bad. Okay, thank you, Shitty Matcha. Okay, good. Thanks, Comrade P. Appreciate it. Because good, I'd have been chasing that E. You know what? Real quick detour. That reminds me of something. I got a critique because I was going to make a joke right there. I was going to say I was going to be chasing the E like people chase the dragon, and not like George Jackson, but that meaning that the dragon of the first high. And I got a criticism, and I want to be clear, like just quickly. I don't know if this person is watching, but if anybody feels this way, but whenever I've made jokes about my past drug abuse or history, I don't mean to demean people's current struggles at all. In fact, I mean, in my own maybe poorly comedic way, to support and give empathy to those struggles, and maybe try to make to make a serious issue a little less serious in discussing it, not to be demeaning, but to just have so I don't mean to offend anybody. I am deeply, deeply, deeply appreciative of that struggle and what that initial. First of all, I get the social conditions that create the desire and the physical. There's some biological, but but then the that initial, that's the chasing the dragon is real. I get it. I fully get it. So I don't mean to diminish that. So I just wanted to quickly, because I did hear somebody got word to me that there were some that were a little bit offended at the way that I seemed to not take the issue seriously. And that's not it. It's much the opposite. I just don't like to, some of my own experiences get a little scary. I don't like to, so my own, I guess, coping mechanism is to try to make a joke out of it. So, remember, my mother's people, Jews make jokes out of strife as much as any other group. So maybe some of it is biological. So I apologize. Oh, you've never heard that phrase before? Chasing the dragon? I always understood it as chasing that initial high, particularly associated with drugs like heroin. But that's what I was talking about, as opposed to chasing this dragon, which we will resume next week. Or the white horse. Exactly. If you want to ride, don't ride the white horse. Yeah. And for a time in Baltimore, they were referred to as boy and girl. That is heroin and cocaine, so it was like, which was a little weird looking back, because you would sometimes roll up on a quarter somewhere and you would say, they'd be like, you want boy or girl? You're like, now you think, outside of that space, it sounds horrible. Let me get a little girl. It doesn't work. But anyway, I forget that detour, but I was just reminded of that. But since the previous story mentioned that this increased spending in financial services and mentioned even JPMorgan, I did see this story. We'll read a little bit of it together here, because I have not gotten a chance to really get into it, but I thought the headline was fascinating from the good people at Wall Street on Parade. Tragic death of JPMorgan board member adds to the bank's string of unusual deaths. I had no idea. On Sunday, James C. Crown died in an unusual single-car accident, reportedly on a motorsport racetrack at a member-owned country club in Aspen, Colorado. The Pitkin County Coroner's Office said in a statement that the official cause of death is pending autopsy, although multiple blunt force trauma is evident. The sheriff's office indicated that the earliest new information would be made available to the public in the next week. In August of last year, Wall Street on Parade made a referral to the U.S. Department of Justice involving James S. Crown, who was a long-term member of the board of directors at JPMorgan Chase and two predecessor banks, Bank One Corporation, previously Bank One, and First Chicago Corporation. Following mergers between the banks, Crown seamlessly went from First Chicago to Bank One to JPMorgan Chase, a stunning tenure of 32 years for a board member dubbed an independent director. Wall Street on Parade's referral to the Justice Department concerned financial dealings between Crown and JPMorgan Chase that were not disclosed in public filings to the Securities and Exchange Commission or to shareholders, we reported at the time. For more than a decade, JPMorgan Chase has been asserting in its proxy statement that its entire board of directors, other than Jamie Dimon, its chairman and CEO, consists of independent directors. In the most recent proxy statement for 2022, JPMorgan asserts that the board, having reviewed the relevant relationships between the firm and each director, determined in accordance with the NYSE's listing standards and the firm's independent standards that each non-management director had only immaterial relationships with JPMorgan Chase and accordingly is independent. All right, I'm not going to read this entire thing. I might have to come back, but let me see. I thought they were going to. One of those challenges is currently ongoing. JPMorgan Chase is facing very serious charges in federal court for facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring by servicing his accounts at the bank from 1998 to 2013. providing millions of dollars to him in cold, hard cash without making the required suspicious activities reports to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, and receiving referrals of high net worth clients and business deals as quid pro quo. One of the men who was aggressively avoiding the service of subpoena in the Virgin Islands case is Leslie Wexner, founder of the limited retail conglomerate. Wexner was on the board of directors of the bank that Jamie Dimon would eventually head, Bank One, from at least 1986, the first year Epstein took over financial affairs for Wexner into 1991. Crown's sudden death might not raise eyebrows were it not for the uniquely disturbing past rush of unusual deaths at this one bank, including multiple leaps from buildings in 2014 and 2 alleged murder-suicides in a 7-month span in 2014 and early 2015. A death of a managing director at JPMorgan Chase in 2019, Douglas Arthur Carucci, was so hush that the New York City medical examiner had no record of the death. Family members refused to speak with us, and news outlets like the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg News, Financial Times, and Reuters didn't even cover the death. Wow. Below is a listing of the unusual deaths we have reported on related to JPMorgan Chase. Joseph Ambrosio, 34, passed away December 7th, 2013 at Raritan Bay Medical Center. Jason Allen Solis, 2013, outside of Walgreens. The cause of death was a heart attack. Gabriel Maggi, 39, died on the evening of 2014, January 27th. Or the morning of January 28th. Was discovered Canary Wharf European headquarters. Wow, this list is pretty long. Ryan Crane. Crane's death on February 3rd was not reported by any major media until February 13th, 10 days later. Dennis Lee Junji, and all these folks in their 30s, and this one in their 20s. Belando allegedly jumped only 6 stories, by no means ensuring that death would result. The young Belando had previously... Yeah, if you were going to commit suicide by jumping, why would you only jump 6 stories? That doesn't seem high enough. Thomas Shanken, 42, died in 2014. Julian Knott and his wife, respectively, were discovered by police on July 26, 2014. After a 2-day investigation, announced that they believe Julian Knott shot his wife repeatedly, then took his own life. Michael Tebeci and his wife. Wow. They were discovered in 2015. Their infant son was in home and unharmed. He was cared for by paternal grandparents. A text message from the home had been sent to the father of Michael Tebeci asking him to come home. According to media reports, the father found the couple. Autopsy shows wife died from strangulation and single stab wound. Husband died from self-inflicted stab chest. Probable murder-suicide. And Corky, damn. Doug Carucci. Anyway, so that's weird. A lot of financial crime associated with JPMorgan. Jumping 6 stories to terminate is like punching somebody in the arm. You're trying to exterminate. Is really that. Yeah, that's the most suspicious part to me in that whole thing. I agree. I mean, that's a. that is a little odd. By the way, in a few minutes, I'm going to do a couple of these other stories, and then I guess in the next hour, I'm going to wrap up by having us look at the chapter 3 of Socialist Reconstruction. So, Coco, get your notes ready. No, I look forward to the response. Really from anyone, but we'll talk about that. So just a couple more before we get to that, and then I'll jump back in the chat for any comments, questions, queries, conundrums, catechisms, cacophony, calumny, consternation, criticism, condemnation. So I don't know if we're going to do this story or where we'll be with the story on Friday. I would have normally thought of this as a more Friday show story, but I did. But it's also a buying power story too. So, oh damn. Well, Coco, anytime you want to, just let me know if you want me involved, or just let me know if you want to do if you're ever going to do a response to my responses to the book. I'd love to see that too. Just let me know. There's definitely critique to be had, and I'd like to hear yours, but just, what's Emma mad at? Anyway, did you all hear? So I guess I'm just going to play this and let it run as it's sort of like a standalone critique of all these claims that Black business and whatever and Black ownership are good for the Black collective. So I've seen a couple versions of this story. I don't generally trust TikTok videos. In fact, I just gotta. Yeah. Anyway, I don't. But this one from Yabo Blay seems to dovetail nicely with a number of other pieces that I've seen. So let's check this out regarding the essence of Essence and Essence Fest.
This is a temporary restraining order issued in New Orleans on behalf of Essence Magazine that stopped Black business owners from making money during Essence Fest. Let me explain. This is Tamika and Kim. They own Lit Diaries in Atlanta. They were putting on an event in partnership with Baldwin & Company, who's owned by a brother named DJ in New Orleans, for Essence Weekend for Authors in New Orleans. Let me make a long story short. So Essence decides that they find out about this event that's happening at Baldwin & Company. They send a cease and desist letter. The parties involved respond to this letter to make it clear to Essence that we're not trying to copy anything that you guys are doing. There's no branding associated. We're independent. We're on private property, all of these things. Essence gets that letter. They still file an order with the courts. 7:30 the morning of the event, they get an order from the court that says that they cannot have their event the day of the event. And it's canceled. They can't have their event because the courts have said that this Black business, these two Black women, this Black-owned bookstore in New Orleans can't have their event. And Essence is the reason. The city council president of New Orleans issued this statement, though. Council President JPMorgan says, my office is aware that an event planned by a local business on private property during Essence Fest was forced to shut down due to an alleged violation of the Clean Zone Ordinance. It is completely inappropriate for any large-scale event visiting the city of New Orleans to negatively impact our local businesses with something akin to a non-compete clause. It is especially concerning that the canceled event was organized by a Black-owned business and would have showcased Black female authors on a weekend that is supposed to be dedicated to Black culture. It was never the intent of the council for any ordinance, much less the Clean Zone Ordinance, to impact private businesses hosting private events that happen to coincide with the timing of Essence Fest. Here's my truth. The Black women who are a part of creating this event, as well as DJ, the business owner in New Orleans, are people who I have admiration and respect for because they do tremendous work for our community. It is wholly disappointing that Essence would file such a document to stop Black folks from making money in New Orleans while you're a guest in our city. As great of a guest as you are, you're still coming here. And I'm gonna be honest with you. As big of a show as Essence is, to say that you're worried about a small event at a bookstore and filing documents to stop it, it's really unfortunate. And as a guardian of Black people and a guardian of the people of this state, I feel it's my obligation to say, y'all need to rectify this. You need to reach out to these folks. This is unacceptable, and this is not what we expect from Essence. We love what you do. We appreciate all that Essence is and represents, but you got to do right by us, not sometime, but all the time.
So I don't pretend to know the details behind all of that, but I've seen a number of people raising this complaint about Essence Festival mistreating Black-owned businesses and vendors. And the first thing I noticed, again, I haven't done any research into this, but I did a quick just look at the website of the Essence Festival in New Orleans. And right there, presented by Coca-Cola. So going back to the last point that I was just making about advertising determining content, I don't know to what extent Essence was even in charge of this decision to target other groups that were doing what could be seen as something similar or competing. Coca-Cola could have easily just simply said, as your number one sponsor, fix that. Just fix that. So, and Coca-Cola sponsoring these a global Black economic forum sponsored by Coca-Cola. This reminds me, remember when Tavis Smiley used to have his we used to call them the Great Negro Bowls, but all those gatherings, and it would be Wells Fargo and McDonald's and Exxon sponsoring them. And when we showed Roland Martin's McDonald's Christmas special last year, where somebody literally in a Ronald McDonald's outfit was oh wow, look at oh, this is perfect from everybody look at this, and then go back and watch Ear Doctor's discussion last night about women in hip hop. KRS, Slick Rick, all these people performing. Big Boy, Gucci Mane, Lil Jon is still, wow. Wait a minute, everybody is here? Trina's still performing? Coco Jones, DJ, well, he does, I don't know who she is. I don't know this person either. Don't know that one either. Angie Martinez, of course. Clark Kent, what? Kid Capri, Spinderella. Wow. Almost make me want to go, but that's, wait. Oh, did you see that? Hold up. Wait. Oh, I can't, can I? Coca-Cola, AT&T, Disney, Target, the city of New Orleans and Company, Louisiana Economic Development. Oh yeah, you little Black book vendors, who you think you messing with? You can't be out here when these good folks, when Coca-Cola, AT&T, Disney, and Target have laid all of that dough. They got their Essence authors. You can't interfere with that. Who are the Essence authors? I don't know any of these folks. Let me share this with you all so you can see what I'm looking at. Who are the Essence authors? So they're going to put all this money together to sponsor these folks coming through, and then you think you're going to have your own little Black book, whatever? Jeezy? Is that Jeezy? My Lambo's black, my president's black, and my Lambo's blue. Is that him? Tamika Mallory, come on now. If you have Tamika Mallory coming through as an author at your event, you know daggone well there's not going to be no room for your little who whatsoevers and whomeversoevers. April Ryan, come on now. I don't know many of these other folks, but I get the impression that if you got April Ryan, if you got Tamika Mallory, you don't have room for your who's and what's and evers and what's and evers. Wow. Hey, Rob, Juvenile took his time on the mic at Essence to refer everybody to a local Black-owned festival. His tiny desk is amazing, by the way. Oh, really? I wonder if he got in trouble for that, because that seems to be exactly what those folks just got in trouble for, or got it's not free, that it's not its right to shut down local events. Okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick little break. I got something for you. Let's take a quick little break, and then we'll come back and talk about, because I think that was it. And we'll talk about what I've titled here as a review of chapters 3 of Socialism and Reconstruction, the Kamau paradox. All right. The Kamau paradox. Are you all ready for that? We have to address that. But let's take a quick break. And I played something from her the other day. This one is fire as well. So let's take a quick break and come back in just a minute with Socialist Reconstruction.
This ain't me, it's a spirit pending. Only time my shit ghost ridden on the beat like an apparition or a phantom grinning. Cause you know you can't see me, nigga. I be the irrefutable word. I'm giving orgasm, so fuck what you heard. Ancestral voices reverberating. I regurgitate them, salivating. This is libation, sensation. Clothing my body, I body each body. Nobody is what I embody. Take your best shotty, I'm bulletproof. Probably had your t-shirt soggy before the end. Laying hands, Jordan River spillage. How it bless a nigga, turn of events. Merciful mother, his courage defunct. The lesson, be humble before the empress. Ancestors, unfinished business, culture versus gimmicks. I am the fire, a Shako Bati. I call his name, make these bitches feel heat. Bonded by blood on the scene in my kinks. I speak in the tongue, demanded release. Speak up all that mumbling won't get us free. Saba the truth, nigga, fuck this belief. I'm the coldest sister, soldiers winner. Saba the blizzard. You would think Jermaine himself sent her. It is quite lonely, top of this hill. Until they get it, I guess I just go back to Dreamville. Goddess.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
All right, Saba the Goddess. I like that joint. Anyway, okay, so as I continue to read through this book, so what I think is, for me, Sister Soldier's Winter. Yeah. A couple things. And I have, as I've been reading this, I have this ongoing stream of Coco's shows and her discussions of nationalism and the Nationalist Project, sort of not so much in the background, but as a parallel. So I do hope that she'll offer some thoughts on this, as we all will, because again, initially I'm thinking of this, and I tend to do this, and I tend to get myself in little bits of trouble for it, but I tend to think of this not as a contradiction to the Black Nationalist Project. Now I know both sides would disagree, but initially I'm thinking, because again, if there is to be a national, a Black nation, an independent Black nation on this continent, it can't exist if the other powers or the existing powers either exist at all or exist in their current form or anything akin to their current form. So either the currently dominant colonizing power has to be fully destroyed and removed, or removed similarly through a process of a socialist revolution and reconstruction. So as I'm reading this, I do think of there are going to be world majority people, black people, and others who will stay within the socialist reconstructed society. And then there would be those who would opt for what I would suspect would be a more likely possible existing black nation, even if it were to remain here internally on this continent. But without so when Garvey was saying Africa for Africans, I keep thinking socialism for Europeans and nationalism with socialism for Africans. I'm not gonna look at the chat yet. I can only imagine what you all are doing with that. But that is, at least I want to at least explain to a certain extent my thinking in this. That is, the black nation must be socialist. It can't be a black capitalist nation. So that's really what I mean by that. And it can't survive if Europeans don't go to socialism, unless there is this move to either eradicate Europeans or, as Francis Cress Welsing has said, sort of manage them, create a situation where they can be managed and their whiteness and white supremacy just can't run rampant, unchecked. In other words, they have to be dealt with. This idea that we can just recoil into ourselves, nationalize, and have any sort of claimed territory doesn't work for me without this. And that, going back to George Jackson, what he was saying in the last section that we were reading in Blood in My Eye, there can't be, at this point, or in the initial stages, there can't be a territory to defend. The guerrilla has to be everywhere. So in that case, you can't have this separate black nation or this territory requiring defense. It can't work. It won't win. And then at best, we'll have a neo-colonial state. And I'm not interested in that. So, okay. So at least just, again, a summary of my logic, to the extent you call it that or accept it as such. That's how I'm approaching it. So in this third chapter, An Energy Future for People and the Planet, and again, I'm reading this in order. I have not read ahead. So I'm reading this in order and reviewing it in order. So I don't know if, and I'm hoping that there is some discussion before the end of the book of how we get to this point. So are they going to say we have, this is post George Jackson, this is post some other process? But what I appreciate a lot is that what the book is doing is clarifying what socialism is and is not, and how, practically speaking, a socialist government would work and could work. And I do like that, beyond all the rhetoric, beyond all the phony descriptions and definitions of socialism from those who don't actually want socialism. This is very helpful. So this chapter focuses mostly on the climate crisis, obviously titled An Energy Future for People and the Planet. So it focuses on the climate crisis and acknowledges, of course, that capitalism can't provide a solution to the climate crisis because capitalism is the crisis. Capitalist production always and necessarily places profit over people and the planet. So as they go on to say here, maintaining the imperialist world order and the capitalist system that is making sure that the billionaire class and most privileged sectors of society don't have to change how they produce and consume energy is what those in power have as a goal. And that this chapter demonstrates how a socialist reconstruction of energy in response to the climate crisis and in contrast to capitalism's contradictions lays the basis for redressing histories of exploitation, colonialism, extractivism, and imperialism. In this and in subsequent chapters, we don't tell people exactly what to do and how to live. Socialism is about equal freedom, coordination, and planning, not command. I thought this was a very important point that they make. I'm glad that they make it because there's this constant refrain that we can't do socialism because it is taking away our freedoms and our property, and we won't have any individual rights and thought. And that is, of course, a promoted concept by capitalists and those who have no interest in there being any socialism or threat to their power. So they talk then about, over the next few pages, the need to decommodify energy. And as I've talked about for a long time, one of the core tenets of Marx is that anything can be commodified. That commodity, as he said, is capitalism's original sin. So in this case, energy has to be commodified, as must energy be decarbonized. So a socialist approach to the climate crisis begins with the abolition of private ownership of the means of production and capitalist energy markets. And then they start to talk about how they're going to reconstruct and reorder organizing and distributing energy. Production and distribution will be democratically planned and coordinated. And this would deal with problems that we have today, such as stranded assets. I remember years ago reading how they would, store. For me, there was a story of grain, and it was, they let, I don't remember the number, but thousands of tons or whatever of grain go bad over time just to keep the prices internationally stabilized, or in their benefit rather. And I'm saying, wow, you got all these people starving, and we have enough to feed and help and improve, and you'd rather have it go bad anyway. Oh wait, is this the Kamau paradox explained? Oh no, not yet. As they say here, this was I said here, socialize versus nationalize, because they say here, as soon as we socialize ownership of production, we claim all energy producing enterprises and corporations for the people and transform them into public utilities. And I don't know if this is intentional, but I like how they use, in this sense, I like that they use socialize versus nationalize, because nationalization gets so many people in trouble and is misunderstood. And it's if you put it in the terms of I think socializing, it helps brand the idea a little bit better. So and I like that. We're not going to have Exxon and Mobil and in Maryland, BG&E and all of that. We're going to have socialized public utilities. So, right. So part of it's, so socialize as opposed to nationalized public utilities. In a little bit later in the chapter, they're going to give some more examples of this, how what these agencies would look like and how they'd be named. But the next point that they get to here is decolonizing energy. And then they talk about the 2010 World People's Conference on Climate Change, where over 140 countries gathered, over 35,000 delegates from social movements, to talk about the climate debt that the developed countries owe the rest of the world. In other words, that the extractivism and the colonization has created the climate crisis, and it's the people in those colonized parts of the world that are suffering the most. So as they say here, they highlight 5 aspects of the U.S.'s climate debt to colonized and indigenous people. So first, we acknowledge the historical responsibility of U.S. capitalist class for genocide, settler colonialism, and imperialism. Secondly, recognizing the climate debt inherited from the U.S. capitalist class in practice means the U.S. is accountable for tens of millions of people forced to migrate because of climate change. Third, because of our climate debt, we are obliged to help other countries adapt to the changing climate. Fourth, and relatedly, we will learn from indigenous people, agricultural workers, and small farmers around the world as we replace environmentally destructive industrial agriculture and with regenerative and labor-intensive farming practices. We will benefit from their knowledge and experience. Fifth, we recognize the imperative of reforming the much vaunted American way of life. U.S. practices of overconsumption do not provide a social model for the rest of the world. 5 Earths would be needed if everyone on the planet consumed as much as the average American. And this is where I think we get to the Kamau paradox. As we detail below, this means the U.S., particularly its middle and upper classes, has to make unilateral changes to its way of life to eliminate wasteful practices and certain excessive habits, otherwise known as the Kamau paradox. Because if you remember from the other day on the remix, Kamau, and to be fair, myself included, struggled a little bit with the idea that, particularly is for me in terms of access to air conditioning, that we would have to give up some of that to benefit the rest of the world. But in fact, it is true. But they do say something here. I'm gonna come. Wait, let me find that spot. I'll come back to it. I thought they said it. Okay, well, maybe it comes up later on. Because they make a point in saying somewhat similar to what I had been trying to say, that it's no, I think they're making it. No, they're talking about no. We just have to give up. We have to make changes. We'll come back to that. So, in other words, the Kamau paradox. I don't want to have to give up my air conditioning. I want other people to have more access to it. But the reality is that's not realistic. We would need 5 Earths to produce all of that for everybody. So the reality is people in Kamau and my own position we were going to have to give something up. As they talk about the decolonization processes, they say here, it is no accident that Black communities routinely face the life-threatening presence of poisons and pollutants, speaking to the realities of Black and Indigenous communities having to always be in what they call sacrifice zones, where their schools and communities are put in the worst or the least desirable regions, suffering from what they call environmental racism. So that they say here, decolonizing energy demands decolonizing the Black community, nothing less. So I know this doesn't necessarily mean it in the way that those certain among us within the Black or various Black communities approach the issue of decolonization. But this is sort of the point I was getting at. Even it is recognized here from the perspective of the PSL, and this socialist group, which is, I think it would be unfair to describe as a white organization, but as is often understood to be representing a Eurocentric or a Western or a white dominated or led or involved effort. But even from their perspective, there's a recognition that decolonizing has to occur. There has to be an end to the colonial relationship. So as they talk about decarbonizing energy, because remember it was decolonizing and decarbonizing, they talk about a 10-year plan to eliminate fossil fuels, and that would require a 10% decrease the first year, a 20% decrease the second year, and so on until fossil fuel production is eliminated entirely in the 10th year. They go through this a lot of cap and adapt plan, cap and convert, but essentially that's what they're talking about. A 20-year plan, a 10-year plan to get rid of dependence or use of fossil fuels. And it's here that they start to talk about how would they carry all of this out. And they talk about 4 agencies reporting to and under the guidance of a central economic agency, which, if you remember, we mentioned in the last chapter, it replaces sort of the need for, and even in reference to a CIA, we would have a CEA. Of course, the CIA is an intelligence military wing meant to protect capitalism and U.S. dominance. The CEA would be here to assure that wealth is developed and redistributed in a way that's not harmful to the earth and is not harmful or extractive when it comes to labor. So they talk about the Climate Mobilization Agency, which would work closely with unions to organize the massive transformation of production required to shift to renewable energy sources. The Fair Response Agency, that will develop and implement the plan for responding to any energy shortages that arise during the transition. A Research and Education Agency that will coordinate climate and energy-related education and research. And that will lead us to a new American way of life, or a reconstruction of the American way of life. So this is the part I was sort of getting to a moment ago. On the one hand, the socialist government will not take away individuals' cars or homes. Contrary to anti-communist propaganda, these will be recognized as personal property. On the other hand, the country's existing housing and automobile stock is unsustainable and will need to be adapted. So on the one hand, to the Kamau paradox, we would be able to keep our homes. They just might not receive as much air conditioning and overall energy use. Which is a legit, I mean, it's legit. Obviously, we can't sustain it. But I'm also assuming that that as we also are allowed to keep our cars, that eventually those cars will have to be replaced by mass transit, which I'm sure will be dealt with in this book, and or some other form of transportation that wouldn't require gas and even electricity, which is itself drawing from those same fossil fuels resources. The US is one of the world's largest consumers of energy, so this would have to change. In 2019, the country consumed a massive 79,897 kilowatt hours of energy. For comparison, citizens in other high energy consuming countries such as Germany, France consume little more than half of what we consume in this country. So that would have to all change. So just as they move to a conclusion in this chapter, going back to something I remember when Van Jones was running this, the green, what was it? The green capitalism. Anyway, it's a myth unless green refers to money. By replacing profit-oriented production with production based on meeting the needs of people and the planet, that is to say, by shifting from the demands of the market to democratically determined plans, we can already expect a significant decrease in our energy demands. Why? Because most of us prefer not to spend our lives working for the enrichment of the few at the cost of our futures. Given the choice, we will decide to diminish the amount of social labor spent producing and importing goods that are unnecessary, quickly obsolete, and destined for landfill. When we understand our impact on the environment and plan our production accordingly, we will collectively acquire the habits of conserving and cherishing the resources that go into the goods we make and the resources these goods command after they are made. Anyway, so, and that's it. So I like, again, what they're doing here in this chapter, showing this is how we can reorganize the society and plan for a reduction in the harm we're creating to labor and the planet, and can start to build new attitudes. Because I like that they address this point, that it recognizes that a lot of our attitudes are based on our material reality, our socialization, and that this can be changed. And for some of us, in terms of our energy use and dependence on air conditioning, et cetera, and so forth, that can be changed. I'm less clear how we get here, so I'm looking forward to that part of the book, and how they expect that struggle to look and to work. But I like that they're doing some of the initial heavy lifting of properly defining what socialism is and isn't, and how it would work and how it could function in a relatively, I want to say unchanged, but I mean in a way that they're not describing this as science fiction or fantasy. It's being described as in a way that comports with the world as is currently arranged, except for that process, because there's going to clearly be resistance to this. And those who are well-funded and well-resourced are absolutely not going to just allow this to happen. So I don't, yeah. Anyway. All right, so that was it. That's all I got. If there's any comments, questions from the chat, I'm happy to get into it. Otherwise, we can wrap a little early. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and make sure you're here tomorrow morning for the Remix Morning Show. we are absolutely, just out of spite, if nothing else, I will be here tomorrow because, I mean, I'm not accepting tomorrow as any holiday, especially not from BPM. We don't have to go to work, but I'll happily come here. So I look forward to that. And then make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss all the things that are coming up on the platform, and which changes and updates all the time. Today, I don't see anything coming up the rest of today here on BPM, although I'm not entirely sure what may change. Oh, you all are the chat is. You all should you can join I can put the link in the chat. You all should come up here, and you don't even have to turn your cameras on. And let's see some of this discussed up here. But anyway, talking about the socialist reconstruction from the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And I've been doing a sort of a slow motion review of the book. And we just did chapter 3. And I'll make sure the link is in the show description, but you can find the previous chapter reviews on the channel. And by the way, Emma, what did the French Communist Party say about the uprisings in France? I thought I saw you make a comment about that. And can you drop a link somewhere? Yeah, we should have had that. Should have had that ready. But I remember it's been like 10 years since he started running that nonsense about the green capitalist economy or whatever. It was ridiculous. I mean, you can't drop the link here. I gotta open up Discord and go find it over there. They going ham in the chat. Somebody said here they got stats on the energy demand from the office buildings. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's got to be crazy. Is that what he was calling the green collar economy? Buy several acres, plant fast growing trees. Who's buying these acres? Is that but the French Communist Party said this? That it's the immigrants' fault? No, they didn't. Somebody got to send me the link. Wait, you can't just post links in the chat. Well, you can send me an email. I mix what I like at gmail.com. I didn't know you can't post links in the chat. I mix what I like at gmail.com would be a great way. You could send it to me there. But I was sure you could. You really can't post links in the chat? That's ridiculous. Why are they doing people like that? Only mods can post links. Really? Well, I guess that's a good thing. Oh, boom. Okay, email and I will write the critique of this book to you as well. Oh, yes. Rant it out, Emma. That's what I'm talking about. I do. I haven't been in the Discord in a long time. It's just too many things. It's just too much. So I appreciate you all. Yeah, it's too much. To keep up with. Okay, thanks, Josh. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. You can't post for spam reasons. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Emma, can you do like a YouTube chat version of your critique? You're right. I'm cleverly avoiding giving you too much power. Yeah. And why is there so much? Is there a lot of blocking going on? I don't think so. Is there? Anyway. Oh, here is a link. Okay, hold on. I got a link. All right, nice. Thank you. Thank you. From Emma to Aaliyah to me. What have we here? The French Communist Party says it's against all forms of violence. Its logic, the far right will stigmatize you. We share the anger of all those who have seen the terrible images of control and shooting broadcasts on social networks. It calls for a powerful and peaceful mobilization to obtain truth and justice for Nahel. It can in no way legitimize the violence of recent days. We strongly condemn all violence against people and property, the firing of mortars and Molotov cocktails, which have disrupted the lives of thousands of residents of working class neighborhoods, and the looting of businesses. So a communist party is concerned about private property and businesses? Not only does this violence in no way serve truth and justice, but we can see how it is used today by reactionary forces in power or the right and the extreme right to stigmatize entire neighborhoods qualified by some of the foreign enclaves when they are, like all territories, a part of France, of its wealth, of its strength. Consider all young people as delinquents when only a few degrade, ransack, loot, to the detriment of all, reduce the life of these neighborhoods to the sole manifestation of violence, or even sow the seeds of civil war, as 2 police unions recently did, a declaration with seditious accents which must lead to sanctions. We oppose bans on demonstrations. Yeah, this is whack. That's ridiculous. So again, well, I mean, it's yeah, that's people are not poor and black people are not hated for being black because of anything that they have done initially. White supremacy is not a response to some pre-existing or prior behavior of world majority people. And poverty is not the response of or to the behavior or thought patterns or culture of the poor. Wow. Exactly. That exactly. Wow. Facts. Well, that's not facts. Emma has lied because she has previously said something uh critical and negative of no, I'm just playing. Emma criticizes me, therefore we can't say that Emma never lies. Nah, but Emma's right about that. Yeah, that's wild right there. Communists afraid of civil war. Yeah. I mean, but the whole the don't hurt the businesses and the property part, that's the leave Emma alone. I think you got it backwards, T Brown. Oh man, that was woof. CPUSA has been carrying water for the Dems for decades. Yeah, I get it. That's true. That's true. They're afraid of Africans and Arabs leading a civil war. But again, I suppose they would be afraid of that. But the idea that white supremacists are at home not white supremacing until they see black and brown people on TV burning something up, and then they're like, you know what? Let's get back into our whiteness. That's not how it works. So, I mean, that's wild. And thanks everybody for sharing the link. That's wild. You know. That's just disappointing. Just don't say so what is the strategy from the French Communist Party? Is it the idea that if they put out this statement, they will be themselves valorized in the eyes of the state? Or that is this like a recruitment tool? We can use this moment and someone will read that statement and say, well, maybe the French Communist Party is something to jump onto. Is that their strategy? I just can't stand that. I can't. Either you got the complexion for the protection, or you look at the protect, give protection to the complexion. In the eyes of the French working class, and then get elected in revolution. Okay. That's the good strategy. They must be on to something. Oh, wait, did I confuse it? Well, it wasn't. Oh, my bad. Maybe, I hope I didn't contribute to that. Maybe it's a situation where the French Communist Party is more feds than members, like when the CPUSA got infiltrated. Now that would explain the statement for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, hold on. Shout out to Josh and Aaliyah in the back. We getting some live community. See, this is collectivism here. The collective is working together to produce news. So related to chapter 3, and I think it was a comrade Pete that sent this, human society is shifting the tilt of the earth. Wow. Humans pump so much groundwater out of the earth that the planet has begun to wobble detectably on its axis, a new study has found. On its own terms, the magnitude of the new wobble is slight, a matter of millimeters, which puts it in the same approximate speed category as Earth's slowly drifting continents. But the findings published earlier this month in Geophysical Research Letters shows the extent to which human action in the form of dam construction, groundwater drilling, and the burning of fossil fuels are impacting the very position of the Earth. They also provide powerful, you know what I'm going to do? Hold on, I'm going to come back. They also provide a powerful corroboration for something scientists had long suspected, but had remained unproven: the staggering depletion of the world's groundwater reserves over the past several decades. So we're losing groundwater and we're moving the earth. And here is a horrible, I'm going to give a little bit of a trigger warning here, because I'm about to make a horrible shift to something that has captured me in terms of the Vernon philosophy of Black media avoidance, and that somewhat relates to this. So this is not an endorsement, but I'm going to make this comparison here. So we just heard how we just saw this story, how a human abuse of water on the planet has adjusted the wobble of the planet by just a few millimeters, but is suggestive of a problem involving humans' interaction with the environment. I will admit, I've started watching this new Idris Elba starred featured series called Hijack. And without spoiling anything, I will say, I think it's fascinating that this millimeter adjustment in the wobble of the earth is a sign that there's a problem that the earth is struggling with. In the series where we are right now, in the midst of a hijacked plane, there was an adjustment. I won't say anything more than this, but an adjustment was made to the flight. A slight adjustment was made to the flight pattern of the plane, which is being used as a way of signaling a problem. So the slight adjustment is the signal, is the alert, is the distress signal. So the wobble is the slight adjustment of the flight path that's saying, yo, and we already have a line dance for wobble, wobble. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. But yeah, that that was funny. That was funny. That was funny. Nabi came through with that one. Okay, the new wobblins, the new wobby. Oh man, that's terrible. Anyway, so that's no, we're not talking about cults. It was oh man, y'all terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But that's fascinating though. That keep messing around and the earth is saying, I'm a wobble a little bit and let you know. This is a little warning. There's a problem here. So Coco, you just missed some silliness, but also the discussion of Chapter 3, Socialist Reconstruction, which I said that I hope you will review, on however you want to do it. I hope you engage. Emma is going to be sending me a rant in response, so maybe we can. Yo. So I did think that I might bring this up, and I guess I will now. Let me see if I can find the thread real quick. Anyway, it started with someone tagging me in on Twitter saying that I should watch Dr. Carr's one of his recent interviews with an author who has written about Clarence Thomas. So I had posted this, just sharing our discussion from on EYL about Do the Right Thing. Then somebody here says, Dr. Ball, any chance you can critique this video by Dr. Carr as he shamefully give Clarence Thomas way, way too much love and respect? I don't know who KP is, but my response was I gotta watch the entire hour. Is there a timestamp? So just reviewing here very quickly, because I didn't see Dr. Carr being tagged, but he does jump in here and says, my book discussions are awful, brother. Save yourself the time. So then I responded, improve your guests, with a picture of my second edition book cover. Someone else here says, with all due respect, reverence, there seems to be an overlap in the critique of Clarence Thomas by Dr. Carr's guest and EYL's critique of Killer Mike that shouldn't be ignored. Something's producing this ilk. I think a collab between Doctors Ball and Carr could identify that phenomenon. Carr's response, again, the quality of my guest list speaks for itself. If you want to be a guest when we resume for the fall, let me know. I'm assuming he was talking to me. And then I just responded saying that, pointing to this tweet, that is how you do disingenuousness. And I do. So this is, and Carr knows this. Like, I don't really want to bother him. I honestly was about to text him or even call him after I read this and just say, come on, bro, what are you doing, man? Why do we keep doing this? Like, I'm not bothering him. I'm not trolling him. Like, I'm not, like, all the jokes, I haven't even been, I didn't start this thread. I didn't say anything. And the worst thing I said was I didn't really want to watch, because I saw that it was an hour-long interview with I don't know, a white guy, I don't know, who wrote a book about Clarence Thomas. And I didn't want to watch the whole thing. But this line here, this is the kind of stuff that I guess it is kind of like a gaslighting. If you want to be a guest when we resume for the fall, let me know. As if Dr. Carr doesn't know intimately, not intimately, but he knows very well that I have said that I have asked him to do, if not an interview, to review the book. I don't even need to be on. Just give my book an honest review. He also knows, what also bothers me a little bit about that is that he also knows very well the struggles that I and others have with our institutions. And he knows very well what positive platforming and reviewing, not even in terms of positive of the, I don't even mean like just giving some glowing review of the work, but offering an honest discussion of the work helps a little bit in these hostile situations that I know because I've talked with him about for years, personally. He's even given me game on how to handle. So he knows very well my situation at Morgan. He knows very well the kinds of situations people like me politically find ourselves in. He knows the book isn't going to get reviewed in the New York Times and everywhere else. So he knows that I would want an interview. If not an interview for him, I've told him. He knows this. He knows when he came on here when we debated on Kalanji's show that I told him, you went with Karen Hunter and misrepresented the work. Give my book an honest read and an honest discussion. Said it. So privately, we've talked about this. On air, we've talked about this. So for him to sort of track me down on Twitter, as I felt like that was, because again, nobody had tagged him, and to then throw out there like it would be possible for me to be on that platform, or that he had no idea that I would want to be interviewed by him, or have him do is so disingenuous. It's so disappointing given how long I've known Carr and how much I've respected his intellect over the years. Come on, man. Come on, man. And we know what it is when and that's the thing. Like, you play around with these YouTube things, and then he'll come on with Kalanji. Come on, man. What are you doing? Like, what is you know what I'm looking for. What is we doing, man? What is the point of all of that? Like, what is we doing? I mean, I can't. It's so like you got my number. Like, what do we do? If you want to come on, why that was exactly what I said to Carr on Kalanji's debate. Why do you do what you do on Twitter as if you don't know, if we don't know each other? What are you doing? I'm 51. You older than me. What are we doing? I know I get petty. I know I have my regressions and whatever, but come on, man. That's crazy. So I saw that. That was just the epitome of disingenuousness. And people like that do that stuff on Twitter all the time. They do that social media stuff all the time. Oh, I had no idea. Oh, I'm just, same thing. I Boyce Watkins, we were looking at that, and he did that going at Corey Holcomb thing. I'll debate anybody. I'm not afraid of anybody. But you told my boy, I won't sit down with Jared because I want to keep it positive. Like I'm walking around like I'm some wrecking ball out here, pun intended. Come on, man. I hate that. I can't stand that fake stuff. I really can't stand that fake stuff more than anything. And it must be something built into the DNA, because going back to my very first real fight as a kid, it was only because I put myself willfully in position to challenge a bully, knowing what would happen. Saw him bullying and bullying. 6th grade, I just saw him bullying and bullying people at this party, bullying and bullying and bullying. So I went, I just walked up and was like, I'm next, bully me. And caused us to get, like, I just don't like that. And I'm not suggesting a fight here. I'm just saying in terms of my attitude towards that, I see you playing this game, and I do want to walk up and be like, what are you doing? Anyway. I'm 51. I'm a man. But that's it, man. Just you don't have to have me on, Dr. Carr. But I really want to say I dare you. What I would want you to do is just not even, you don't have to give it an hour, 20 minutes. What am I saying in the book? What am I right? And what do you think I'm wrong about? 10 minutes. Yeah, Corey roasted him. Don't mess with a comedian. I'm with you on that. But whoo. Yeah, but it's not always smart, and it's not always because it's the right thing to do either. I have to acknowledge that too. There are times where it's like it's not necessary to stand up to somebody, and I'm just doing it to I admit that. Like that's an issue too. Like historically, particularly as a younger person. And I say this as someone who has walked away from, and I think cowered away from more fights than I've actually been in. And I remember those more than anything. But I've let a lot go. So I'm not just out here, but that kind of thing. And we're all, we're grown, we're academics and intellectuals and activists and journalists. We should be able to communicate and do, come on, man. I used to be pro slap boxing, but I haven't done that since the military. It's a fine line. It's a very fine line. You got to be very careful. You got to be very careful. And I'm not physically getting involved with anybody at this point. I had to clear leaves out of this the steps going down to the basement in the backyard for this party the other day. My shoulder still hurts. I'm not prepared to fight physically anybody. But but I'm like, man, why are you? And then I felt like you chasing me down on Twitter too. Like, I'm not talking to you, my man. I'm not even talking to you. Oh, no, let the birds keep going. Let the birds keep going. No, Boyce's thing, and he even put on a shirt, entertainers are not leaders or something like that. He's clout chasing. He's trying to get so, you know. But why would I do that? That's silly. I'm not gonna pull up on some. First of all, I'm not pulling up on anybody. You know, pulling up on anybody. But but sort of that's the point. Like it used to be, I used to go by Howard and go by Carr's office all the time, regularly. We would see each other at Sankofa, be over. I would go. At one point in the late 90s, I was driving from Frostburg as an undergrad, 2.5 hours to DC to sit in the back of his class. Or to go up to his Founders Library, 15th floor little office up there. Have you ever walked with Carr from one of his classes to his office and seen how difficult? You can't have a conversation with him. He's got it it's like a celebrity. People coming up to him because he's dope. So what all of this for? Anyway. Do pull-ups as opposed to pull-ups. Yeah. Have Carr and West on to discuss Green and Democrats for Black people. He should have West on his own platform. Or maybe Kalanji can host Carr and West for that one. So, but the question for me, again, I don't even like the idea of a physical thing. The take him on part or the battle part would be, can my ideas around buying power and a critique of buying power withstand his critique of what I'm saying? That's the only thing I would want to take him on. I'm not trying to fight anybody physically at this point. Well, that's factually incorrect. That's factually incorrect. I'm not trying to fight Africans and working people at this point. Whatever fight is left in me is not for that community. But I don't like that kind of stuff, and I think that the ideas is what I would like to see addressed. You know what, Comrade P? I don't even think I could do that. I got like so many little issues. I wouldn't even want to do thumb wrestling. And if we did an arm wrestle, I would have to do it left-handed because I don't think this shoulder, I wouldn't want to risk. That's why when I do have ever, and what I do now, any sort of practice or any sort of shadow boxing, it is only to practice technique, elbows in, short punches. Because there's no, everything got to be. So and even with the bands, you can do some good exercises with what do they call it? The stretch bands, where you can wrap. And then I saw some boxing things where it keeps you and forces you to use your lower body and your torso to swing. So there's no thumb wrestling. I don't know. I haven't been in touch with Professor Myers. We should have him back. Has he been on with Dr. Carr yet, though? Love Dr. Carr as a historian, but the limitations of his cultural national be on display during some times like these. As a historian and as someone who has read and can recall, I'm not aware that there's a parallel for Dr. Carr. I don't think there's anybody you could call and say, you got 5 minutes, here's the topic, go, who could do better than him with sources, references, citations. He's and he is a bibliophile. He is someone who will go way out of his way to find a rare book and read it and retain it. So, I mean, again, I have zero disagreement with that. But to me, again, all this does is add to my disappointment. It just makes it worse. I agree. Please don't advocate funny violence jokes with Dr. Carr in the chat. Carr ain't that kind of, exactly. Carr is not, that's what I'm saying. He's not, I mean, he's maybe personally for me a disappointment, frustrating, but he's certainly no enemy. And I would not advocate, honestly, I wouldn't even advocate that level of heavy criticism, much less any kind of, certainly no violence. But yeah, I agree. Nobody should be. You can't, I wouldn't, yeah. So I don't mean to suggest I wouldn't want to add to any of that at all. I would just prefer at this point, like, I don't mess with you, man. I didn't tag you. I didn't call you out. I didn't say nothing. But just don't send me that was the thing. I would have rather him say, you know what, Jared, F you. You mom. I would rather his tweet have said that than that tweet. Straight up. All serious. If he had said, you know what, F you and F you too, I would have been like, you know, if he had like put a gif of what's his name? CeeLo. Just, you know what, Jared, F you, man. I'd have been like, cool. I'd have been like, all right. But don't do if you want to be on the show, just let me know. Hey, dude, don't do that. Oh, ugh. Carr Hunter, a centrist capitalist. They have a big Nubia movement with lots of so-called leftist middle class taking it classes as if they are radical. $375 to what? Wait a minute. Are you saying, first of all, thanks again, ZZ, for the support. Are you saying Dr. Carr and Karen Hunter have a big Nubia movement that are they working together on this 300? Is that what you're saying? And you got to pay $375 to be a member? Wow. I know if you break a thumb at this stage, your life is all that. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. Like, I watch Warrior Class every week. And if I miss it live, I go back and get it. Because I want all the gems I can get. All of them. And they're in there. And they're in there. Oh, he's permanently invited. First of all, if Daruba's not on this show, on my show, it's because he is just unavailable or somewhere else. It would be that would be the only reality TV show I would support. A legit unscripted reality show about Daruba. And if he would allow it and we could, without threatening the revolution, just put cameras with him all day, every day, I would absolutely sign up to hold one of those cameras, the mics, the lights, the cords, and just rock on. It would be all Daruba TV. That's funny. Cambone, I could see that. And Todd Burrow. So I was there, and I was not the only witness to this. But if you all remember that movie? What was it? The movie, was it Undisputed or Undefeated? The one where Wesley Snipes is in prison and Ving Rhames is in prison, but one is the real champ and one is the prison champ. The intellectual version of that was that one day Dr. Carr sat down at Sankofa and tried Dr. Burroughs. Now, I won't lie and say I remember everything that happened, but I also wasn't the only witness at the table, and everybody was clear what happened by the end. Carr walked out with his fame, but he did not take the title. Carr had to put the belt on the table and walk out with his fame. And if I'm lying, let the other witnesses step up and correct me. If I'm lying, let the other witnesses step up and correct me. Oh, yo, I would tour with Michael Hudson in a heartbeat. He seems like a weird, quirky kind of dude, but he seems like he's been around a couple blocks too. So I'd be very interested in that. No, not Domino's. Not Domino's. I would play Carr and Go. It's not $375. Okay. Nubia costs $20 a month. I'm in it. Okay, thanks for the correction. Is it worth the $20 a month? What are you promised for $20 a month? And what do you get? What do you get for? I'm not familiar with it at all. Hello, Dr. Ball. I love your channel. I love your Blood in My Eye book discussion. Was looking forward to it today. Have you ever considered interview Jonathan Jackson's son? So thank you, Tierra Green. Please do stay tuned. We will be revisiting Blood in My Eye. And have I considered interviewing Jonathan Jackson Jr.? Sister Green. I am in an intermittent, I'm going to call it 15-year plus text message exchange with Jonathan Jr. in an attempt to do just that. But to be fair, the brother's busy. He's had his own life and he has his own particular approach to that history that I'm very respectful of. So, but absolutely, the consideration, we're way past consideration. We're at the level of permanent invitation. But I understand why it also hasn't happened, and there's no conflict, or it's all love. I appreciate him, and in fact, as soon as we wrap up here in a few minutes, I'm gonna send him another text and say what's up. And so $100 a year, but what are you all getting for this? Like, what are they promising, and then what are you getting? $300 course platform. In Class with Carr is a good place to get Black news and history on Saturday morning, but it's not the place for political analysis. That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Undisputed is the movie I'm talking, and that's what I'm saying. And I think even Carr, I don't know what he would acknowledge if press started, but he walked out with his fame and his image, but he didn't take the belt. He did not take the belt. He did not take the belt. Yeah, it was Todd Boombaye. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And if any of you have ever, even what you see on here, you could tell. But if any of you have ever spent any time off camera with Dhoruba, oh, you know damn well that it would be must-see television. I would literally never change the channel. Never change the channel. Thanks again, A-Rob, for the support. Karen Hunter, Greg Carr, and others have something called Narrative. 199. Wow. But what do you get for that? Wow. Yeah, my chess, he probably would take me in chess. My chess, I'm not a fan of where I am with chess. But I think I'd like to play him in Go. I'd like to see what he got for Go. And maybe that would make it worse for me. I don't know how his mind works entirely. But enjoy unlimited access to classes, curriculum, conversations, much more, all within your monthly budget. I don't agree with the Hove Nas narrative, but I understand your point. It was like Undisputed. They fought. Not, they battled privately, and what you saw on TV was not reflective of what happened in real life. Carversboro sound like you're practicing your hate. Not, and all it really was is all it ever is all I'm ever inviting with Carr now, in terms of what I used to be inviting in terms of my book. There was two giant intellects who had a disagreement. I mean, it wasn't, and there was no animosity, there was no hostility, there was obviously no threats of violence. It was just a great discussion that I think clearly showed that in that moment, Carr just wasn't ready, as is the case for many of us in any given moment. And maybe there was some underestimation or a lack of recognition. How Todd comes on here with his little funny hat and all that, his little self-deprecating jokes, and he likes to do the whole thing of, Jared is the boss and Jared all that kind of silliness. That's just not the end of it. And Todd Stephen Burrows, his full name, Todd, and it's not spelled that way. It's Burrough. That's it. Burrows spelled that way. Todd Stephen. And as he will tell you, he is a 3-name Negro. Dr. Ball, have you checked it out? Have you checked out and been in contact with the Kumbukani podcast? I have not, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm not familiar, and I have not. So thanks for putting me on. I'll check it out. I don't know either. Especially given the longevity of the. I mean, we were never best friends or in the same, and I always saw myself as a, I don't know, what is it, a junior brother or whatever, a little brother or whatever you call it. Certainly a junior intellect. But we had a long, very, supportive, even friendly relationship. So I don't know. I can only speculate. And I have before, but I'm about to wrap up here. So, come on, Emma. I'm not doing that now. I'm not doing that now. I'm just amazed. I'm still curious, like what it is that they promise and what they give for all of that, for whatever the cost. I don't know if they've ever interacted. They would definitely disagree. Nah, no. Thanks for the support though, Nelson. But no rap battles. I have not. I'm not familiar with Philip Scott, so you have to forgive me on that one too. But I'm not familiar. That might be it. That might be it. I've gotten, I get the light skin treatment sometimes, you know what I mean? But thanks again, ZZ. Stand to be corrected, please. Where I'm wrong, where black people can't meet a $400 problem, but he's selling classes ranging from $240 to $375 a year. Simple math is $240 a year for $20 a month. Okay, got you. Thanks for the correction. Wow. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the promise is and what the rewards are for that. But so I read it backwards. So I saw Emma giving me a compliment, but I realized that it was for a bad jokes battle. I got you. Is Carr's comedy better than mine? Is it? Is it? Anyway, listen, everybody, I really appreciate you coming through. I appreciate you bearing with us on the last minute scheduling changes. Big shout out to my comrades, Dr. James, Kalanji Changa. We'll be back next week with more Blood in My Eye. Please go back and check Kalanji's show from yesterday. Check our discussion with Jackie and Daruba yesterday as well. And let's push this. Let's push this. Let me pull it up here. Let's push this West Mumia 24 idea. Although I heard a little critique. We'll see if the author of the criticism will join us for this at some point. Someone I respect very much on the Mumia struggle had raised some criticism privately that I got wind of that this would not be a good idea because all of the cop killer rhetoric would come back in full strength, re-Mumia, and hurt whatever positives would come from West's campaign. But in any event, I that's a legit concern. But anyway. Well, anyway, let's keep this. We'll keep considering all of it. And anyway, big thanks to all of you. Big thanks to those who will see and hear this later. Appreciate you as well. Let's definitely continue. If you got things to say,
Put it in the comments.
Where you might want to say
it's wrong, bro.
Or maybe just ask.
What is we doing?
But we want to make sure that we all get
Message.
So, or the
message.
And any way you can support BPM, please do. Materially, immaterially. Like, share, subscribe is all free. Commenting and tweeting is all free. Tagging and all that is all free. blackpowermedia.org for more. And I'm going to head back to my
Tree line streets.
And catch you all tomorrow with the remix and all throughout on Black Power Media and beyond. Thanks again, everybody. Please do grab a copy of the second edition of The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power and stay tuned for the forthcoming Hate Awards. Still working on the final details of that. And we'll see you Friday for...
You got to earn your liberation.
But as from now, I'm out right here at...
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.